So Piers Morgan had on Steve Bannon. I really can't play a lot of the clip. I tried to post a clip the other day with Piers, and it was kind of like this weirdish copyright thing. But I really wanted to point out what Steve Bannon is really saying around here at this point. I think that a lot of American blacks, American Latinos should really, really listen to what he has to say. Um, obviously, I did support the First Step Act, which was like a prison reform act that Donald Trump did in his first presidency. I don't think it was enough. I think it was far from enough, but I mean, literally, he tried to right a lot of the wrongs that Joe Biden committed with the 94 crime bill. So, um, this just really, I watched it earlier. This really just kind of just, I'm not gonna say it took me by surprise, but he openly said it. And you're talking about it was released 5 hours ago, uh, over a quarter million views. Piers Morgan has 3.7 million views. Um, Both of these guys are plugged into Donald Trump, and I think that what he said is just fantastic. So we're really not going to have a long video. Just going to keep it short and sweet and simple on this one.
That's another mainstream media misdirection play.
What was prison like? I mean, take me back to your first night in prison. Many people who go through that say it's a pretty
Well,
harrowing experience.
I don't. It's such a personal experience, and I don't want to. That's why I've never really talked about it. I don't look. I will say this: at 70 years old, a federal prison is a very dangerous place, and here's why it's a dangerous place. The prisons are very cramped. This prison in Danbury was for 800 people and 1,200. I think there are 1,200 inmates because of the overcrowding, and a lot of that's from the illegal alien bad hombres they got there. But the central thing in this warehousing, and I was in a cell block in a cell. In fact, a January 6th guy was right across from me. Is that nonviolent drug dealers, and these are young men, normally in their mid-20s, Hispanic and African American, who are not caught selling drugs, are caught in federal law and conspiracy to sell drugs. Peers, they're getting 10, 15, and 20-year sentences, and Danbury's a very tiny place. And if you and I had to sit there and think the next 20 years, I'm 25 years old, next 20 years of my life, I'm not leaving a very small compound,
Yeah.
it would break. And what happens is the place is flooded with drugs. This drug, particularly called K2.
Yeah.
And once these guys take K2, it's out of control. The cops can't control it. Nobody control it. And so what makes it so dangerous is these prisons are flooded with drugs. And one of the reasons they're flooded with drugs is the mental kind of breakdown of people that have been given these long prison sentences by these judges and really don't have any rehabilitation. This is why President Trump's First Step Act, quite frankly, is brilliant. I'll be working with Jared on prison reform a lot, but I will say this: federal prison in the United States of America is very, very difficult and very, very dangerous.
I mean, but just without going too much into it, and I respect the reasons why you prefer not to, but just on a human level, you're Steve Bannon. You were the architect of this stunning victory in 2016 for Donald Trump. And then suddenly you're finding yourself in a grim, overcrowded prison, and you're there for months. That kind of experience, it can make or break a man. It seems to me, I don't know you very well, but it seems to me, in a way, it kind of made you maybe a stronger individual. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how would you categorize what the experience did to you?
I considered it duty to my country. Just like I said, I served under a destroyer in my 20s in the Pacific, in the North Arabian Sea and Persian Gulf, and I'm serving here in a prison as a political prisoner. Nancy Pelosi. Think about it. The people that put me there, Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, and Nancy Pelosi.
I do
I
want to skip
came
a
out years
little bit.
old. You're just not going to get that experience. You have to be so amazingly focused. Are you going to end up hurt? Or are you going to end up dead?
Right.
So you got to be focused every second of every day to have your mind just totally focused. It empowered me. And think about it, Nancy Pelosi's, Jack Smith's gone. The show's tougher. The show's better. You got to get on with it. So for me, outside of the fact that I had to work 12 hours a day talking to my team about making sure the show was empowering the campaign, it was a very empowering experience. Dangerous, but empowering if you can get through there at 70 years old. And all the people that put me in either got pardons or are going to be prosecuted, who did, like Jack Smith's team, for the criminal behavior they had. And Nancy Pelosi is for election. So It's ironic, but so is life.
What was the thing you, other than family and friends, what was the thing you missed most when you were inside?
It's interesting. The thing you miss most in prison, in federal prison, the plastic chair in your cell, the little plastic chairs for grown men. Now think about it. This for a guy that's 25 years old, going to be there for 20 years. You have a little plastic chair, whether you go to the chapel or anywhere. And if you go, I taught at civics, you have a little tiny school desk like you would have when you were 9 years old. The whole system of prison is to break you so you never feel comfortable. You sleep on a steel slab with a mattress that big. You have no pillow, no blanket. It is literally to break you that you're never comfortable. You're always on edge. There's this cell block. There's just men all over top of you. If I hadn't been on a Navy destroyer, if you're just some regular schmendrick showing up at 70 years old, I think it'd be very, very tough. I'd had training in this in military school and on a destroyer, and I can kind of grind through things. But everything they do, and the biggest thing, you sat there. It took me a month. I said, why am I so uncomfortable all the time? I said, wow, you can't sit anywhere. There's no place really to sit and be comfortable. So they play all those kind of games. And look, I was in a low security prison, which is controlled moves in a cell block, in a cell. If you go up the prisons to medium security, which I think I would only live for 72 hours. I went to medium security or a U.S. penitentiary. Forget, those are gladiator schools. That's a whole different level. So the prison, and this is why I'm so big on prison reform with Jared, because I didn't actually see the genius of what he was doing. Our prisons in the United States have to be radically changed. We are, and the other thing, sex offenders. This is the thing. Half the prisons are sex offenders now, and there's no rehabilitation. If you think people in prison right now, sex offenders, are getting rehabilitated, you are wrong. There is no programs whatsoever. These people are warehoused for 10 and 15 years, clearly have issues, big issues. But outside of being a child molester or somebody on a thing, they've never had a parking ticket. I mean, it's bizarre, and they're put in with convicts. So it's a bizarre system. It's a dangerous system. You're not helping people, and quite frankly, you're not helping the country. So it's got to be. And President Trump is kind of the leader in prison reform. This is one of the reasons, by the way, 39% of black men voted for President
Yeah.
Trump, the highest number. And part of our coalition going forward are Hispanics and African Americans.
So just the short version.
So I definitely wanted to show that. I do think that because Jared Kushner's father ended up in prison, because Steve Bannon ended up in prison, they're able to really see what's kind of going on. A lot of people are going to say, "Well, if you don't commit a crime, then don't be scared to do the time," or whatever the fuck y'all motherfuckers want to say. So let's. I'm not going to play anything, but this was a documentary that came out some years ago, and I really implore y'all to pull it up, watch it. It's a movie with my baby Avra DuVernay. Um, as y'all may know, I have a thing for older women. But that's Ava. And I also implore you to read this book, but she's also referenced in um this documentary 13th, but it is Alexander, and she wrote The New Jim Crow, The Rise of Mass Incarceration. Oh, well, not The Rise, but The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. Um, so she kind of details what exactly happened right at the end of slavery. Um, Literally before the 14th Amendment was passed, the 13th Amendment was to end slavery, and the South got creative. They literally just started making black codes, black laws, and literally just started the whole chain gang, the whole prison profiteering. And so, the book and the documentary details exactly what's kind of going on, how they're purposely making so many things criminal that should not be criminal, how they're using it to get cheap labor, free labor. You see that's kind of going on with Alabama. You see that with Kamala Harris keeping black men in prison for weed. So a lot of these things were literally, when you even talk about weed and you talk about The reason why the Controlled Substance Act came out, it was part of the Southern strategy um, from Richard Nixon to kind of win over Dixiecrats, uh, the the Klansmen in the South, who had originally been voting Democrat. He wanted to win them over. He knew that his opposition um, to uh, to winning was the hippie movement, was the civil rights movement. So, when you look at Lyndon B. Johnson, you look at JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson, that those years from 60 to 70 and everything that kind of had transpired, there was kind of like a white backlash to that. So, I don't want to get too deep into it, but Steve Bannon, um, he hit the nail on the head. We still need prison reform. We need to get rid of, especially um, when you're talking about marijuana, it shouldn't even be illegal anymore. There shouldn't be a single state where, if you just willy nilly just smoke it, or you possess it or anything like that, cool. There's still several states that where it's criminalized. There's still, little less than half the country where, you can't smoke recreationally. So that's still an issue. Um, I don't think that all drugs should be criminalized. I don't think. Hold on. Let me kind of back up here. I don't think that jail and prison is the and a criminal record is the best thing for drug addicts. I think that you do need help, but now if you're committing a crime to get drugs, that's a whole nother story. Like in a sense of like a crackhead, runs into a Walmart, steals a TV to get crack. Well, bro, you just stole a TV. So you shouldn't be criminalized for the crack. You should be criminalized for stealing the TV. Because then you just kind of perpetuate this whole series. You go in and out. You're not rehabilitated. The recidivism rate is extremely high. So, I don't want to get too deep into a lot of that, but I do give Steve credit, a lot of credit right here. We do need, second step act, third step act. So yeah, I totally agree. So, but y'all be good. Y'all be safe. Peace.